Hello, I'm Lee Carroll.
And let these few moments be about your awareness of your own beautiful heart. The love that's possible when you allow it in. And the love that is given to us from the other side of the veil. The love that is possible to flow out from a whole, healed, beautiful heart. Flow out into the world and connect with other beautiful hearts. So breathe into that friend in your chest. Been with you since the beginning. And say thank you. Thank you for coming on this journey. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for all that I've shared with others. And thank you even for my heartbreaks and for my heart healing. And for the love that continues to grow as I learn, as I allow a greater and greater measure of divine source love to flow through my heart. And as our hearts calibrate to receive the love from the other side of the veil, the honoring that is here to wash over us, let your heart, let your consciousness open more than ever. Feel it. Clear your mind, open your heart, and let your consciousness receive with each breath, with each word, the healing message and the love from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The room is filled with those I know. Those who listen later, I know. And this is because all of you are part of a larger family. A family that hides from you while you're here. And I want to talk about something. It's a subject we have broached before, but not necessarily in this way. Here is a brand new energy for the planet, and you are in transition between a consciousness of the past and that which is a promise of the future. How many times have we told you that moving literally from a darker area to a lighter area brings with it joy, anticipation, and also the old energy? For a flash bulb doesn't simply go off and everything is fine. Instead, you have to work the puzzle. We've given you many channels about what takes place when you move from a lower to a higher place. Some of the habits, some of the biases, some of the things you don't even know you've done. There is one thing, however, which is common to most. Something that has got to be cleared. Not because there's old things attaching to it. Something that has to be cleared because of who you are. And when you hear what it is, you'll know. For we've spoken of it before. So let's begin at the beginning. Things that you should know about yourself, not what you've been told is there. Things spiritually that are so true and beautiful that perhaps you've forgotten. Things that are not taught today in the spiritual systems that you have. Not like this. I want to go back to the beginning. And the beginning, as I am going to see and say, is with the teaching that began. Dear ones, you have a creation story all over the planet. Various cultures have various creation stories. The one that in this culture you may have grown up with, the most popular one, is very similar to the one that we teach as the seeding of the planet. So listen again for just a moment about this amazing thing that took place biologically, esoterically, with humans about 200,000 years ago. There was a shift, a change, a major one. And if you wipe away all of the physics of it and the physicalness of it, what really took place was a beautiful switch, an implantation within the human being of discernment of light and dark. The knowledge for the first time of the Creator. Free choice to see it or not. Intuition. Beauty. Discernment. All of these things were new. There was a leap in evolution 200,000 years ago, designed not by accident. It is the creation story. It's in your Holy Scripture, told perhaps differently, but it's there, the same story. That you are human beings, mammals like any other on the planet, and something happened. An angelic force came down. And with the creation story, you heard it was the Adam, it was the Eve, it was the Garden of Eden, all metaphors, again, for what took place that we've told you about, where you received the beautiful knowledge of light and dark, discernment, choice. It's all over the planet. So now I'm going to put you in the place of the Creator, just for a moment. The question of, like, what would you have done? Let's say that you have the mind of God. And let us say that you have seen this miracle. It's gone by design and you were watching it. What would you do next after the seeding had been complete? To give you a hint of where I'm going, let us say you take a small child and you say, I'm going to give you something amazing and beautiful. I'm going to put you in a library with the knowledge of everything. And you can then choose between the books. And then you go away and you say on the way out, oh, sorry, we never taught you to read. Thousands of books, and you can't touch them. You don't know what's in them. So would it make more sense to have a creation story accompanied then by teaching? And their Scripture says nothing about that, nothing at all. So human beings are then given all of this and then left to fend for themselves. There is no teaching from the angel. Truly, Scripture will tell you that the masters then came, and there were many of them. And through history and cultures, there were many of them. But the source that did the seeding, the angelic energy that had the force behind the creation story, simply left. And you were on your own, and then the stories began that you hear. But my story is different. It's more logical that the seeding occurred and the teaching began. You cannot take that kind of a change, place it on humanity, and walk away. Instead, we told you that those who gave you the seeds that were those from what you call the seven sisters, they stayed and they began the teaching. Now, the actual seeding began a long time ago. Very, very gradual, and much had to happen biologically before you got to a point where all were ready. And that was the 52,000 year point. There have been 2 cycles of the wobble of earth involved in human's civilization, where you were there in a succinct enough way to create that which you have done. Everything leading up to 52,000 years ago was preparation. And then came Lemuria. And then came other places on the planet where you were being taught. Not just Lemuria, there was more. Lemuria was special because it was isolated. And that means it could last far, far longer without any kind of visitation in the 30,000 years that the Lemurians were Pleiadians and had Pleiadian teachers. So here we are. The teaching started when the seeding was complete. You're not going to get that in Scripture. You're going to have a creation story, and then everybody's gone. That in itself, dear ones, does not make sense. It's not logical that God would put you in a place and give you this beautiful knowledge and then do nothing with it. No teaching, no instructions. It's almost like dark went to light and then the angels disappeared. That's not even logical, dear ones. No, there was teaching. And the first things that were taught, the first things with the teaching wheel with 5 spokes was, who are you? That is what the Pleiadians wanted you to know, where you were from, what this was about, how it works. All the teaching was there. The teaching of the return to the middle, the teaching that you have God inside, and the seeds of those who were teaching you. If the angels came down in the Garden of Eden and had Adam and Eve and did what you heard that they did, does it really make sense? They didn't say to both of them, and now you have what we have. And now you have that which is light in you. And now you have a piece of the Creator in you that we've just put in you. Use it wisely. Here are some hints. There was none of that that was given you. None of it. The truth is, we stayed and taught. The creative source represented by the Pleiadians stayed and taught. And we taught a long time. Doesn't make sense to give you the library without teaching you to read. And that's what we did. And the reason I'm telling you this is because you've lost something. And you need it back, and you need it back quickly. One of the most beautiful aspects that you were taught. The Pleiadian mothers, you call them the star mothers, the teachers, would sit. Beautiful information would come out, and they would tell the children. They would say, look at your mother, meaning the one who is the teacher, and they would say, I want you to gaze upon us because someday you will be us. We want you to gaze upon us from the stars, because this is the lineage of earth. We want you to gaze on us and see the beauty of the God that created you is in us and is in you. We want you to understand that you will always return to the center. No matter how many lives you think you have, no matter how long you live, that it goes both ways. You come and go from this planet, the center. You come and go because this is the system. You see, you always return to the creation, and then you go back, and then you come and you go. It's beautiful. It's a push-pull system, coming and going with the beauty of God inside. You are God. That was taught to the children. And they understood it. They understood it because they were looking at it. They saw it. The children became adults. The children's children learned the same thing. And off they went akashically to be born yet again in other places on the planet to carry this message and carry this message and carry this message. And over civilizations, dear ones, with free choice, human nature and the efficiency of dark and light began to be changed. And you know what happened. With free choice, darkness was chosen over light. So many of the civilizations destroyed themselves because they didn't understand any more than darkness. Those who understood and still had that full experience of God inside were put aside and beat up. There was too much power in the light, and the darkness knew it. And slowly, you have what is that which you grew up in, dear ones. Civilization after civilization created much the same light and dark ratio. The light was hidden, put aside. It's interesting, in every single civilization, something took place. Secret societies sprung up. And the secret societies had to hide the knowledge of God inside. But the darkness said, look, there's a secret society there. They must be doing evil things. There must be sorcery there. Don't go there. Don't believe it. The beginning of conspiracies. The beginning of darkness in every corner. The beginning of mistrust. Even those who had the knowledge of God inside in a secret society were called the devil. And the darkness always seemed to win, because human beings would then believe the worst in everything. That defines dark energy. And the beauty of God inside was suppressed. It's almost like you had a piece of gold shining like the sun that was you. And over time, the dirt and the dust got on it, and the gold went away. And here you sit today with dusty gold. Now that's a metaphor for lack of self-worth. It's common. It's common not just with old souls. It's common for humans. For most of the humanity that has come and gone on this planet and reincarnated experienced this, just like you did. That to say that perhaps you were God, or you had any powers, or you knew how consciousness would work, would be a death sentence. Even the shamans, the ones who could make the magic, the ones that would be turned to change the weather, even they were in trouble all the time. Because if something didn't go exactly right, then they were blamed and often terminated. Some of you were them. You are your own ancients, and in that old soul, some of you were them. Some of you were born spiritual with knowledge. And as soon as you were able to grow up and walk, you were actually following the same path yet again. Never ever believing your parents, never ever going to certain kinds of religious structural organizations. Others of you awakened later. But all of you have dusty gold. Lack of self-worth comes from lifetimes of not being believed, of having to cower in the dark. Some of you have awakened with the knowledge intuitively not to push the envelope of light. Just to behave yourself. Don't come out of the closet too quickly or at all, because you might face it again. But even the ones who've come out, even the ones who are teachers, even the ones who write the books, even the ones who sit in the chair and channel, have dusty gold. The truth was given to you, old soul, by those who seeded you. What you did with it, you get to look around and see. Morphed into rules, into negativity, into dysfunction, into many things. Even those who know the truth about the spoke of returning, about the original teaching, even if you know it, you've got dirty gold, dusty gold. In other words, in this room and listening to me, those humans who want to move forward so badly, those humans who say, yes, I'm seeing the light, still suffer from doubt, fear, and lack of self-worth. We know this. We know this. Now, I want you to cognize those words. Spirit, God, the creative source, anything you want to call it, knows of this issue and is ready to help you wipe away the dust so it can shine like the light. And all you have to do is start claiming it. And if you want something to imagine, if you want a visualization, use the one I've just given you. Old soul, you shine like the sun, like pure gold polished so you can see your face in it. And I want you to consider for a moment what it would be like to simply take your hand, even without a cloth, and brush away the dirt and the gold, the dust, and see in the gold your face. See the reflection of your own face in that. And the metaphor for you as you do it will be brushing away doubt. Brushing away that which is something that you can't really identify what's wrong inside when you don't believe in things. What's wrong inside when you don't want to come along with a program of beauty or benevolence or compassion. What's wrong inside? What is it that blocks you from believing some of the things that are presented? That's the dust on the gold. It's history telling you it's not real. It's history that's telling you it's dark. It's history that's giving you conspiracies against it. It's all that you've been through. And right now, in this energy, in the light, that gold is waiting for you to simply brush the dust away. And when you do it, even when you begin to do it, even if you consider it, things start to change. If you want to grasp some of the principles that are given here by Kryon, in this chair, in the many chairs for 28 years, if you're ready to go to the next level, it's time to brush away the dust. Because that will be the catalyst for everything you've asked for. Oh, depressed one, I know who's here. I know who's listening. It is so difficult for you to climb out of this thing. Unless you knew something, we know the issue. God is not in a vacuum on the other side of some black veil. God is not judging you for what you've done or what you haven't done. Instead, God is there next to you, waiting and saying, brush it away, blow it away. Here's a cloth if you need it, but do it. And then you'll see who you are. Your face in the gold, the reflection of you, the image of love. The Pleiadian teachers taught the children that they were created in the image of love. That is the Creator. They were created in the image and the beauty of compassion. That is the Creator. That teaching is still with you. It's in your Akash. All you have to do is believe it and start brushing away the dirt, the dust, until you can see your reflection in it and say, I knew it. It's true. I am created in the image of love. Dear ones, this is going to be the major catalyst in this new energy for learning all the things you wish to learn. You cannot proceed much further and be in full and complete doubt of who you are. It doesn't happen quickly. It happens as slow or as fast as your past will allow it. Do you understand that? What have you experienced? What have you been taught? What has been drummed into you? For some, not much. For others, a lot. And so some will have to work harder at it. Oh, depressed one, I'm talking about you. But you have to know you have help. We are here. Spirit is here. Others around you are here to lift you up out of this depression and come to a place, listen to me, where you will never have the dust again. You will not go into depression again. The cycle that you're experiencing and have experienced all your life is over. I'm talking to somebody here. I'm talking also to several who are listening. The cycle will stop when you take the dust away and you finally see yourself as worthy to be on the planet. Not just worthy, you've got stuff to do. How does it feel to know that that is still there? You don't have to reach anywhere for it. You don't have to go anywhere for it. You don't have to study for it. Just blow the dust away. And what you're going to see is the beauty that you are. It's so much easier to see love and love yourself when you're not looking into something you can't even see, a mirror that is so dark. How are you going to see yourself to even know who you are when you're looking at a mirror that has so much dirt on it? Brush it away. Start to see that mirror, that reflection, that gold of God in you. It never changed. Only history changed it. Only what you were told it changed it. And it's time to grow up and make your own decisions about who you are and what your relationship is to the universe, to the Creator, to the God inside. Oh, beautiful one. Oh, magnificent human being. I know what that reflection looks like. Go do it. It's time. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. For these years, wherever we are, we speak of a paradigm shift that is occurring now. 30 years ago, if you had asked, why is Kryon here? My partner would not know the answer. It took 3 or 4 years to get going, for him to actually speak out loud, to say these kinds of things. And even then, you would not have known. Even after book 1 in 1993, or book 2 in 1994, the why is Kryon here would not really have been fully revealed. It took many more years to realize that that was all a precursor so that you could see real, honest channeling. And get used to one who would channel and have no tricks, no marketing, but love. 30 years of Kryon, consistently. The message of empowerment and the fact that humans are here on purpose and are not a victim of the planet. Only recently has it truly been revealed why Kryon is here. And that is to assist you through a magnificent paradigm shift, the biggest shift in consciousness on the planet, one that was expected. And you also realize that Kryon did not appear literally to my partner or anyone. Not really. Until something remarkable happened on this planet. In the late 80s, the Soviet Union ceased to exist and disarmed something that would have indeed caused war again. But the war would have been everything you thought it would have been. And very few would have survived, dear ones. And the earth would have lain there void and dark. And all that the Pleiadians had done to get to this place would have been for nothing. That's free choice. Were the Star Mothers prepared for that? Yes. How can you say that, Kryon? Because they'd seen it before. Did you know that the Pleiadians had gone through their shift? We've said this before. With their own free choice, they had done that. This is a repeating cycle of victory and failure with free choice, where humans would have taken a consciousness that was already low to the lowest and terminated themselves and not recovered. That was imminent. And some of you were there. You were living through those times. My partner speaks of it often. 50,000 nuclear weapons all pointed at one another, ready to be launched. How would you ever survive such a thing? A wild card appeared. And in that, history shifted and history changed and paved the way for you sitting there today. You think this is over dramatic? Let me ask you. Go back in history. Who predicted the fall of the Soviet Union in that way, in that time? A superpower that literally vanished almost overnight. They ran out of money, dear ones. That ought to tell you something. But that was not predicted. It was not seen at all. That was a wild card. And that was something that happened because the consciousness of this planet was already starting on an upward scale. All of these things, if you lay them out and connect the dots, you'll see it. This is not an accident. All of these things coming together for the precession of the equinox as the indigenous of the planet had predicted, you're here. And the shift begins. Kryon is here to facilitate the shift. 30 years ago, you didn't know that. The things that Kryon taught about, and I remember it vividly when my partner uttered the words, talking about the magnetic grid moving and why it would move, not truly understanding any of that or the influence of consciousness that it would have, because only later would there have been experiments showing that consciousness and the magnetics were actually allied. They affect each other. That's science. That's proven. And the proof came with satellites, not readers. Dear ones, you're looking at a new paradigm. One that sees consciousness very different than you ever saw it before. The shift that I speak of right now is real. It's as real as the love I speak of that is starting to permeate human nature. What's the difference? What is the shift really? I will tell you that the evolvement of human consciousness evolves from a low level of animal instinct and survival and fear into a higher level of understanding, compassion, benevolence, and love. Simply stated. Dear ones, you're coming alive with the idea that the love of God, the Creator, is inside you and can manifest and change things. That's the difference. Love. It's been overstated and understated. It's been made fun of. There are so many kinds of love on this planet. And that the one that we speak of is the love of the creative source that knows your name right now as you sit in the chair. And invites you to feel every cell of your body radiating with how beautiful it is and how connected you are. And how this planet is going through a shift that someday in history will be noted because you'll change the date system again. Before and after the consciousness shift where humanity stopped warring and killing each other en masse. Where they understood that every single human being wants the same basic thing. How long is this going to take, Ryan? We look around the earth right now. There's nothing like that. There are even segments of those which would call themselves spiritual, which will kill you if you don't agree with them. How is that going to straighten out? And the answer is slowly, dear ones, but it will. Oh, it will. It has to. Because at some point in time, the dark consciousness will become the minority, the real minority, forced into a corner of love around them. A love that would invite them to see that which is the truth, the light. And many of them won't. They will go extinct before they will turn to the light. It's going to happen that way. The battle is not over. But light is winning. And light will continue to win, dear ones. What is it you see? Again and again, I say, what is it that you can point to that is so different today that you didn't have just a little while ago? And the answer is you're starting to reveal inappropriate things which have always been inappropriate. And they're coming to the surface. And there are those who performed inappropriate things because their fathers did, and their fathers did, and their fathers did. But now there's consequence. Because darkness is being seen. Whereas before it could always hide In a darker energy, darkness is everywhere. It hides. You never get ahead. It's always going to fight you, and light is going to lose. Well, that, dear ones, is changing. It has already changed. That's how we said earlier today in a former channel, you can walk into that unknown place and expect light. You can walk into an unknown place and say, I am glad I don't know what's going to happen, because it's going to surprise me with something better than I thought. I want to tell you a story. It's a tiny little short metaphor. It's a parable, if you wish. This particular parable does not involve a human, so the parable will not have anything to do with woe. It's the first parable that doesn't have to do with woe. I would like to tell you about a community in a fish tank. It's a real fish tank in a real place. And the reason I say community, because if you were a fish, dear ones, you would really not be aware of what's on the other side of the glass. The fish see the reflections of themselves. They're not really truly aware of the outside, except, for instance, maybe light will change. They're aware that food will come then from the top of the tank, but they're not aware that a human is giving it to them. It seems to simply be part of the scenario of life, just like for you it rains. And you don't think, perhaps, that there's a giant up there sprinkling. The fish don't know. But this is a story about a community. And the metaphor has knowing fish. It has fish that will be in the community and will be able to talk. And the fish we're going to talk about has a name. It's a tropical fish. It's a spiritual one. So it's an angelfish. Angel remembers the time when it started. Something was happening that had never happened before, and she had been in that community, in that very large fish tank that never moved. It was so big. Took her a long time to swim from one end of it to another. It was her world. She never really thought of it as being confining, because it was so large, plenty of space for her to swim and to live. And over a period of years in her life with the other fish in the tank, there was sameness, and they really appreciated that. You want the temperature to be the same, the pH levels to be the same, the lighting to be the same, all of the things that were expected of a fish, not knowing they were in a tank, expecting perhaps they were in a lake or an ocean, was there. They didn't know any better. Angel was a happy fish and had friends that were also happy to be fish in the tank, living a life where things worked a certain way. They had certain expectations. The food arrived. The light was there. They were also aware of night and day, because the owner carefully turned off the lights at night and on during the day. They had their sleep periods just like they might in the ocean. And then it changed. The first thing that Angel noticed, that they all noticed, was quite fearful. The light that always came on after the dark period didn't. Something else, not only didn't it come on, but it actually got darker. Suddenly this place where she had been for years with her friends was in the dark. It was dim. They could see each other, but there was already anxiety. Now, Angel had always been the one who would lead the others and say, these things that happen are simply part of what happens. They're temporary. There will be a return to that which is normal. Don't worry. And if you could have a leader of the fish, she was. That wasn't all. The noise began. Now, noise is relative. If you want to define noise, it's the pressure of vibration against an eardrum that creates a sound in your head. Fish don't hear like you hear, but they sense the vibration, just like you do, and it's noise to them. For the vibrations, whatever frequencies that they would sense would be frequencies that you would sense, except that the noise would be different to a fish and startling. They can hear it. But the noise was severe. It was a vibration, literally, of the whole world that they were in. The whole tank was vibrating for some reason. They were stressed. Now it was dark and dim. And now the fish even started talking to each other and saying, this is not right, something awful is going on. Those who were the intellects in the group said, we're not going to last. It's the end. We expected it someday. Here it is. Some of them said, it's time to leap out of this world and suffocate. We know we can do it. We've seen our friends. Angel said, there's nothing here to ever elicit that. You're going to be okay. Just wait and watch. Don't fear. If fish could sing songs, Angel would be leading them. But the vibration was so severe that what happened to the gravel in the bottom of their tank, what they thought was something that never changed because it was always there. It's a place where food would drop. It was a place where you would scavenge and eat and all the other things that fish did with the gravel in the bottom. It was life sustenance. And suddenly, the gravel was oozing dirt and darkness and ugly things because the vibration was vibrating the gravel to such a degree that everything that was ever buried in the gravel was starting to come up. Some of the fish were having a hard time breathing. The water was so permeated with what used to be buried under the bottom that oxygen was tough to get. Then it got a little cold. This frightened them so much. Angel almost gave up. Angel almost said, they're right. We no longer have light. Now there's all this vibration, all these things floating up from the bottom, and the horror of the dirt we're seeing that we never thought was there, and the mold, and now it's getting colder. She held it together, and she held them together. And she was right. Because almost immediately after the cold came a normalcy, and it started to return. The noise went away, and the dirt settled, or was cleaned somehow by the filtering system, which a fish would say was the ocean. The darkness that was so ugly went away. And back came the light that they were used to. And all the fish looked at her and said, how did you know? How did you know that we would get back to this? And she said, we're not back. She said, everything is new. And they looked around and they saw it for the first time. All the things in the bottom that used to be what you would call accoutrements of a fish tank. The little diver with the bubble. The little house with the mermaid. They're all replaced with new little trinkets. And they spent the next few months investigating all of them, putting a little dirt on all of them, making it theirs. Let me tell you what happened. Let's go outside the fish tank for a moment. There was a man who owned the apartment, and a shift was coming in his life. He was going to renovate everything. And in the process of the renovation, he realized that a fish tank that was that big could not be moved. So the idea was this: keep them alive, keep them there, feed them, make sure they were still all right. But you got to disconnect the electricity from the lights, and you got to put a board so nothing from construction will fall in the tank. And then the construction began, and it was the cabinets that the fish tank was on. It was vibrating the tank so severely it almost broke the glass. He didn't know that. He found out, backed off on it. In the process, it had muckied the water because everything, all of the dirt had come up through the gravel. He didn't expect that. But he finished it all. And when it was done, the renovation was complete. It was hard even on him because construction is difficult. He had to move out for a while. That was uncomfortable. It was shift on a grand scale that he understood as the man in the apartment. But what did the fish know? Their world was isolated. They didn't see the bigger picture, that a renovation was occurring and that things would occur which were brand new. They didn't know it, but the man also, he got a new temperature sensor because the other one broke in the process of being vibrated. He caught it in time, but the water got a little cold. He warmed it up. He changed the filtering system completely. As long as he was doing more electricity on the lights, why not go all the way? The fish were breathing better. They felt much different. Angel knew there was something different. And they were celebrating every moment. Do I have to paint a picture for you? In some ways, you're all the fish. And you have a reality that you've gotten used to, not understanding how Gaia works, how the Creator works, how the shift works, how consciousness might work. All you see is trouble. And there are those who would say, Kryon says it's getting lighter. I read my news. It's ugly. I'm having a hard time breathing because of all of this ugly darkness. If you're an American, you get to watch something that is profoundly dysfunctional in the government. Suddenly, everyone is at everyone else's throat. Nothing is getting accomplished. And the whole idea is to beat up the other one. Doesn't matter what you believe anymore. You just want to beat them up. And that is what happens every single day. And if you get lucky enough, you'll put them in jail. That's scary. It's scary because you've had 200 years of a democracy that worked. It worked to the degree that things got accomplished. That laws were a combination of ideas that were strong enough to have consensus because there was negotiation involved. When's the last time you saw that, American? And the answer is, it's been a while. That's frightening. You start looking at the dark things that are coming out of the woodwork, as they say, on this planet. Oh, you haven't seen anything. We'll say it again. Wait till you see the extent of the horror of children's sexual slavery. It's bigger than you think. And it's almost everywhere. This has been covered so well for so long. The light is coming out, dear ones. And there will be those who caught up, and it'll startle you, it'll shock you, how it's funded and who's involved. And it's coming. And there will be those, again, who watch the news and say, it's the worst of the worst. We're doomed. Not understanding the fish tank is under construction. And there will come a time when the light comes on again, and the water is pure, and the air is better. And all of these things, although they may sound metaphoric, there's a truism to all of them. Because humanity, in its evolvement, will also clean itself up and the planet up. There'll come a time when you will attack the garbage patch in the ocean and clean it. And it will take time. And there will be thousands involved because they understand it and know that it is absolutely necessary. Did you ever think you'd see that? It's coming. Human nature is going to start to evolve into a paradigm never was there before, you didn't expect. And that's one of the reasons why you can feel free to step out and do things you've never done before. Because history is not repeating itself. Oh, dear ones, there are things that will be abominable to look at. Did you know that when light starts coming out, those who have been invested in the dark will also come out and show themselves in awful ways? Some of them will go out of their way to take a lot of people with them as they go out. It's their way of saying, take this, light. But they'll do it because light is winning. The dysfunctionals will become more dysfunctional, and the ones who have been invested in darkness will go right to the wall with it. I've told you this before. Watch for it, look for it. It doesn't mean things are coming to an end. It means things are rejuvenating. It's going to be in your news even soon. Those are being called upon inappropriateness of a grand scale. Those who have known about things for a very long time. Governments who have authorized things for a very long time. And there will be those who will expose them. Only this time, the light will sustain itself. And there will be then penalties to pay. Careers that will be ruined. As is already happened on this planet. Those who feel that they can dabble in darkness and get away with it because others did it before them. Let there be notice right now that this fish tank that you live in is starting to improve itself. And that the vibration that you feel is the shift. The things coming up through the gravel have always been there underneath the sight that you've had. Now vibrating to a place where you can look at them, and some of you are even breathing them. That's how ugly it can get. But dear ones, that's all in the cleaning process. That's rejuvenation. That's remodeling. Just ask Angel. You got an angel inside yourself, every one of you. It is an angelic form, this higher self, this soul. It is created in the image of God, meaning it's created in the love and compassion and the benevolence of the Creator. You have DNA that resounds in it, all 23 pairs of chromosomes, unique to you and those from the stars. This is who you are. This is what's going on, dear ones. Which kind of fish are you going to be? Beautiful. And so it is. It is. It is. It is.
Hi everybody, I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon.
So it is good day to you, huh? So very good to see your light, your brightness, your divine energy and the luscious energy of the star mothers through Dr. Amber and the activation as your guidance brought you here for this activation. Your guidance tapped you on the energy field and said, in Sacramento, you get to come and be activated on all levels of your cellular connection. So we give thanks for Dr. Amber and her artwork that she found the right artist to bring forth that energy. You know, dearest beings of light, you have that capability as well. You are writing your autobiography, of course, and to know that in that energy, you are creating your reality. You are creating the way you are responding to everything that happens in your life. So when you set the intention to be all that you are, When you set the intention to grow, to evolve, to move forward, to activate, to become the energy, you volunteered to be here at this point in time, yes? Just as our dear Kryon volunteered to come in, just as we volunteered to come in through this little vessel, Maryland, to come in at this point in time, because it is a magnanimous energy. It is bigger than expected, possibly. And the old statement that the universe is rearranging itself to accommodate your picture of reality, yes? Old statement, the vessel Maryland saw it on somebody's wall in the 90s, we think. However, now that is what is happening. And science is proving it. So when you say, I wish to be all that I am, I wish to evolve, and then things start rearranging themselves and something mucky comes along and something in contrast comes along and something else comes along and pushes all your buttons and you think, what happened to the good stuff? You see, you're given those opportunities to say, that is that old paradigm, and I'm given the choice to make a different choice. I'm given the choice to see what the issue is, to see what the trigger point is, to maybe see the messenger of that button-pushing, mucky, icky stuff, contrast, and to love it. And say to ourselves, say to yourself, this has come round about again. Yay. Celebrate that. What shall I do with it? You know you have a choice every single day to surround yourself with your people, your tribe, as you are here this weekend. You also have a choice to surround yourself with people of higher vibration when you leave here. Many times people don't think they have a choice, but they do. Our vessel Marilyn had dinner last night with her brother Bob. And he started off not having a clue what she was talking about. He actually attended one of her events in Sacramento, right here. You were there. And he'd never seen channeling. He had never heard of us, Aronda, or the fact that her energy, her face, her focus shifts completely. And yet she did not justify. She explained only as much as what he could take. Instead of going through and trying to convince him of something. She just said, just come. It opened something within him. Now he's listened to Kryon. Yes, yes. He's actually shared that message with his wife. She hasn't listened yet, but it's only a matter of dripping. And that is what you are. With those energies that are around you, that are maybe not really the same vibration of you, instead of pushing them aside and saying, no, get out of my energy field, maybe it is time for you to be the drip line. You know, you have a drum line, yes? That can hit you over the head with something. Instead, be the drip line. You know how when that faucet in the other room just drips a little bit? And it seems like it is so loud. Eventually, it gets our attention. You can be the drip line for the universal shift. Take a deep breath. There are many beings who have come into this dimension to pave the way for what is happening right here, right now on this planet. There are thousands and thousands of years of beings in human form. They are now the ascended masters that are on our council, as you are. Those masters that have come here to this planet at this time to prove that the veils are getting thinner, to consciously live the miraculous energy, making miracles ordinary. And that is what is happening. 2 weeks ago, our vessel Marilyn was in Alaska. She drove a dog sled. That was a miracle. And then the miracle got greater and she drove a snowmobile. Now she's ready to purchase what are those things that go on the water that's like a snowmobile? Jet ski, yes. Can't you see her? You see, that is really all that it takes. Can't you see her? And you can, yes? Yes. So therefore it comes to pass. Can you feel her joy as she stood on the back of a snowmobile and had snow flying everywhere and her glasses were all fogged up and her body was a little bit freezing and it was only 34 below zero. And she looked up and thought, this is so fun. I never thought I could do something like this, but I could see it. So her problem was she was thinking about it. But when she felt it, then she could see it. So we ask you, start feeling into the miraculous transformation of this planet. Start feeling into that energy of shift that you feel right now in your body and see how it can reverberate out beyond you and affect your brother or your sister or your neighbor with that illuminated joy. And then they may come to you one day and take you out to dinner and say, I don't know what you do and I don't know what that channel thing is, but it is real. I know this. I feel it. And I want more of it. Because the human soul is designed to live in joy. It is your birthright. Somewhere along the line you got a different program. That is that first paragraph in your autobiography. Now, take a deep breath. The joy is yours as your birthright. Humanity is shifting its consciousness again. Because you are here. You volunteered. So as you celebrate every single little point that pushes against you, there's 10 more points that come in that are helping you flow in that divine direction of evolution. That is exciting. We feel it. Huh, don't you? Yes, thank you. Someone answered. She feels it. You see it. Yes. See that place on this planet where everyone respects their differences and honors and has compassion with those energies that have a different protocol or ritual or religion or purpose than you do. And know that they are the star in your movie, just like you are the star in their movie, in their autobiography. But what is it called? An autobiographical movie, huh? That is the shift. You are the shift. We love you deeply for volunteering so we could look into your eyeballs. We see your heart. We know you. And we honor you. And we bid you namaste.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are those who would continue to say, why is Kryon here? There has to be a reason. There is. The reason is because Spirit, that which is you call the Creator, that which is responsible for your soul, loves you dearly. And so there are messengers that have been sent for eons at times of change on this planet. Especially in times where humanity was involved and needed to know what was going to happen, or perhaps have an alert so that they would not be shocked or surprised or worried. Scripture is filled with this, angels who appear. And in that which they appear, they always say to the humans, don't fear me. Don't fear the message, for I'm here with good news. This epitomizes the love that God has for you, for the souls that you exist in. Apart from anything you've been taught or told, there is grand, grand love for you. Beautiful love. You have elected by choice to be born in a time of change. And this is massive change. It's change on all scales of almost every subject that you can think of. The indigenous will tell you very clearly about the cycles of life, about the cycles of earth, about the cycles of time, about the cycles of consciousness. They are aware and have always been aware that things happen in cycles. But when those cycles are done and others then begin, there is change. And the change is almost always upsetting to a human being. Depending upon how you see your life is how humans view change. There are some who will see change and say, well, it's about time. I love those things which are happening because it means I have an opportunity here to change things that need changing in my life, and on they go. But that's only a few, really. Mostly those are old souls who have come prepared for the change. But there are many old souls who say they've come prepared for the change, but they are a product of programming. And the programming says that change means trouble. The ones that especially are affected are the ones that see change and pull it to themselves. They'll see something that has happened and they'll say, then why is it happening? I must have done something wrong. Even those who see that which is the weather cycle which we have talked about now for decades. The change is upon you. We said it was coming, now it's here. So you had forewarning of a cycle. There are cycles within cycles, mini cycles. When it comes to Gaia, the weather, and all these things, you knew it was coming. And that there are those who are assembling and praying to God, asking God, saying, what have we done wrong to create such a thing? Never understanding that such a thing is normal. Change is upon this planet in so many ways. The energy of the consciousness around you is starting to change. We have spoken, again, about the weather. It's so interesting now how even historians are starting to change their minds on some of the mysteries of the past. One of them, not really that far away from here, in what you call Bandelier National Monument, there's a place called Chaco Canyon. And in that place, for 400 years, lived an ancient people, which are called the Anasazi ancient people. And when you go there, there has always been a mystery. That for 400 years they lived a certain way in an area that had actually been occupied by them for perhaps 10,000 years. And yet suddenly they left. They didn't simply pack up and go. They didn't even pack up. There's many, many stories, even about some of the kivas still being filled, about something that happened that almost overnight would cause them to leave. A big mystery. There have been all manner of conjecture of what that would be, and now I tell you what historians are starting to figure out. There were signs of massive drought. The water was going away. The streams were going away. There was no rain for 3 years. Dear ones, this was a cycle change in weather. They had not seen it before, like you have not seen it before. In their civilization of the 400 years, they had never seen this. Perhaps it was a 1,500-year cycle. They would never have known. And the reason they left, they had to. They can't even carry food if they don't have the strength of having to hydrate themselves. And so there was that which the chief, if you want to call it that, the one in charge, the shamans all said, it's over, we're leaving. And they did. A classic story of a cycle that surprised them. A cycle that they really should have known was coming, but didn't believe it, even though the seers and the readers had told them. It was in the field. One of the reasons it was so sudden is because of the stubbornness of their government, if you even want to call it that, of their council, who said, we do not believe this is coming. For 400 years, we've never had this. Therefore, it won't be there. This is the same with the energy shift, even for those who are esoterically minded right now. The energy is shifting in the way people react, in the way you think, what you do, and the energy, even of thought, is starting to change for you. Healers feel it. We have spoken of it. New things are occurring that will change the way you do wonderful things. When I said healers feel it, we have spoken of this before. When many of the old processes that worked forever don't work. And the healer takes it to themselves and say, what am I doing wrong? They'll even think they're being punished because that's the programming of the day. When you have a program that says you don't belong here and that you're born dirty, that means that everything you do is being judged. Therefore, if something goes wrong, you caused it. That's programming. And that is not the truth. Why is Kryon here? To tell you in your magnificence to relax with these changes that are occurring, but be aware of what they are, because some of you are building walls. Wall building seems to be a pastime, and you don't even know it. You don't realize the amazing changes of what you do that create certain kinds of things that never did before. Psychologists will tell you that if something happens, or you're worried, or it's a life worry, let's say, or there's something ongoing all the time, or perhaps it's fresh, that something has happened, that when you carry these wounds or these worries, and if you will simply talk them out and talk to others and talk to this, that eventually you'll talk them away. Or perhaps others will help you and justify and whatever. That is the psychology of the day. You get help. Now I'm here to tell you something. Whatever it is that bothers you right now, that you have carried for more than a month or two, as long as you verbalize it, you're building a wall brick by brick that's going to keep you right there. Because that is the energy of consciousness. The more you discuss a negative thing, such as worry, consternation, wringing your hands, or being wounded because of unjust things that happened, and you want to tell everybody you know every time you meet them. Hi, my name is. Did you know what happened to me? You're building a wall, and that wall gets then cemented, and then the cement dries, and you're never going to get through it. And the things you're worried about, you'll always be worried about. The energy is new. And so what it says is to take those things and imagine that instead of perpetuating them to everyone you know in hopes that you will be able to dissipate them, as many say you can, I want you to ask an indigenous what they did. Master psychologists, they were. They had ceremony for worry. And whatever it was you were worried, you might want to wrap it in a leaf or something that was Gaia and then burn it. Somehow dispose of it, because the energy was this. Gaia, as your helper, had the wisdom of the ancestors and would see these things eliminated, going up in smoke. You had released them, and you're on to other things. Now, the things you worry about may still be in the ethers, in the field, but the fact you're not building a wall anymore means you zip through it. You see this? And you step ahead. I want you to examine your lives for a minute. How many of you are here, and for years you've been worried about the same thing? Your wall is big. It's not too big, dear ones, because consciousness is energy and can blast through that so easy, as long as you understand, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. The biggest issue that you might have, again, as a habit, is how do I drop the worry? I'll tell you, this is where the maturity starts to come in from everything you've learned, where you can rest yourself in the hands of Spirit and know you're taken care of. And you don't have to do this yourself. And you don't have to share things that bother you on and on to everyone you meet. You can dissolve these things and actually get resolution if you stop talking about them. That is a new energy. And that is the way it's starting to work, dear ones. That's a challenge to some. That's why I'm here. Spirit loves you so much that it wants to tell you the pitfalls of habits, programming, so you'll know what they are. Many of them subconscious. Nothing wrong with you. You've done this. This is the way you were trained by you, your parents, your culture. This is the way it worked. But it doesn't now. Let those who look at you see joy. not problem. When you talk to them about joy, not problems. This is the new energy. This is the change. This is the cycle before you. One of many cycles. Just one of many. But one you needed to hear. I'll be back. And so it is.
So as you prepare yourself to receive this message from Kryon, just come into a quiet place in your body. And feel the love of the family around you, each one of you contributing to the whole, as though we were this beautiful human tapestry, weaving together our energies, our experiences, our lives, this one and others, that interconnect us so beautifully that even if there are people here you don't know from this life, more than likely there are other connections, other times, other lives. And you, like strands of light, interweaving warp and woof. Your energies above and below you, the work that you do, contributing to the consciousness of the planet. Whatever brought you here, whatever you've received, whatever you take with you, whatever love and connection you feel from Kryon, from those of us in the team, know that you take it into the world, and the world becomes different because of you. And you become different because of that. Your love, your light, and your compassion reaches out, reaches in, and makes a beautiful difference.
Greeting, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I know where I am. Through my partner, I know where I am. It's not a mystery to Spirit what you do. I want to start by saying to you that not all channels are long ones. I have profound information this evening to deliver. My partner has not delivered it this way. The information has never been given publicly, and it's confusing. These channels should not be that long to present an aspect that you should think about. And it's time you knew something. It's beautiful. The revelation of what I'm going to give you will not change what you do next, except in appreciation of who you are. There is a grand plan here. Dear human being, the longer you live and listen to these words from various sources from the other side of the veil, the more you will realize that humanity was designed for this moment, that you have purpose, that there is love. In a free choice society and civilization, you must be left alone. When it comes to consciousness, you must be left alone to decide. It creates a barrier which you have called the other side of the veil. It's a barrier of isolation. We've talked about it forever. How we would love to just reach through the barrier. Turn on the lights. You all go home. There's no test. And you revert to source. You are the worker. It's become called a light worker. Because you are changing this planet. The consciousness, the ahas, the awareness, all of that individually is starting to make a difference. This planet, if you watch your news, appears to be in trouble. It's not the first time. Change does this, and we have told you this. We will reiterate this. The first thing you must do at this juncture is to take care of yourself. And if that means turning off the news, do it. So you will have within you the understanding, the aha, the realization that what I am telling you is accurate and true. Purpose, love, compassion, change. This is what's happening on the planet. The news will come and go, and those who are creating problems in the world will come and go. We have told you that light is starting to make a difference over dark, and the dark is reacting. Simple. That's why you have what you have. And the more you work the puzzle, the more you'll see that light will be winning. The dark will react and continue to react in survival to save itself. I want to tell you, dear human beings, this is good news. In general, those who will not evolve and advance will disappear. There'll come a time when the road is clear. And those who are making the problems that you have now will diminish through attrition, through birth and death, through time. You will come out of this. But that's not what I want to tell you, because this is old news. I want to give you a revelation of the evolution on the planet. And I'm talking about basic evolution. Now, my partner heard this one time. A private time that I gave him with Dr. Todd Uvakaitis. It is often Todd who gets to hear the information first. And the reason for this is the master teacher of energy on the planet at the moment. Once it was delivered, now you can hear it. Some of you will say, well, this is not really that big of a news. It is. It will change every biologist on the planet. Listen, there has been a revelation just recently in a channel that I gave you called The Physics of Consciousness. It was a premise that was new. The premise says this, that consciousness is actually an energy that is measurable and has rules. And you get into the area that has been so esoteric in physics and in metaphysics that said, what is the relationship to reality and consciousness? Does physics just operate by itself and the human beings are in the bed of that operation, or do they interact? Does one affect the other? Does nature itself have a secret? Oh, it does. And it's one that you can look at with statistics for proof. As science becomes more mature and the computers that measure that which you would call chance come online with their power. Let them crank through this problem. And it'll prove that there is an attribute of truth to what I'm telling you. Consciousness is energy. Now, I want you to drop down for a moment. What if there was also energy in cellular groups? Not brain, but intelligence that happens within groups of cells that are evolving. And not necessarily just human ones. What if there is an attribute no one has taught us itself reacts to? The physics experiment that said that by observing something, you change its reality is known in physics. It has many names. There are many ways. A human observing something can change the attribute of the something. That is what we're talking about. Is it possible that there are other energies in life? There's a famous scientist. And some of you have heard his name, and his name is Michael Denton. He had the audacity to challenge Darwin's theory. This is a theory that is accepted today the way everything evolved. Life on the planet, up into and including the humanoid, even before the seed biology was changed from the Pleiadian. How did you get here? Did you ever look at yourself and say, this is an amazing structure? How ever could it have gotten this good, this complex, with this structure in such a short amount of time? It's a good question. Now you have the computers and the ability to program life. How long should it have taken? Now Darwin said that the evolution of all life and humans happened through not just a selection of the species, but through mutation and accident. Life would crank along, doing what it always did in its form, until a mutant appeared, through chance. How many times do you reproduce until a mutant appears? And that mutant happened to do something better, because it was an abnormality, an anomaly, different. And then according to Darwin, because it did something better, it had precedence over everything else. And more mutants would be born. More abnormalities would come online. That's what a mutant is. That would then drive the next mutant series by accident. And the species would improve itself by accident through mutants. Every time a creature was born who had a better set of something, whether it was the ability of mobility or intelligence, that would be the king and would be then emulated, and others would come online by accident. And then those with the supercomputers started to question it. And they said, we know the statistics of mutancy. Because life still exists. We can test it. We can program it. Dear computer, how long would it take in order to evolve the human being the way it is today, from the life that we know on the planet, from the cellular structures that crawled out of the ocean? How long would it take? Dear computer, give us the answer. And when it did, they stood back and gasped. because it would have been so long. You would not even be here as a multi-celled animal. Nothing. And that's not what happened, did it, dear one? As long as life took, and you'd think it was a long time, was super fast compared to what the computer said it would have taken with Darwin's process. Are you understanding this? Something else happened. In order to get you to where you are, to develop on this planet into what you are, from the way it began, there had to be interference. Ask Michael Denton, the scientist, and one who would not be caught in this room listening to the esoterics of today, what he thinks. Ask him. And he will tell you there had to be interference in order for life to have developed this quickly on the planet. He gave it a name: intelligent design. That's a scientific name. Do you like it? He was right. Now, the scientist within him is not going to necessarily believe what comes next. He saw the effect. The computers don't lie. And the intelligence of the processing and the maturity of your brains today must take a look at this. Because now you'll know you're designed, dear ones, to be here. There was a fast track system, and one that I still cannot give you totally and completely, because there are processes within processes regarding cellular structure and how it works that my partner cannot deliver without the knowledge he does not have. So I'm going to give it to him very simply. There is a benevolence of God on this planet that imbues itself in all things. You studied it today as the Gaia grid called Mother Nature. And my partner did not know this. He did not teach it. But Mother Nature itself, not completely natural, as he said, because those that seeded you, who were here at the very beginning, helped to create this. Imagine a planet that had accelerated growth on purpose, a benevolent design that would bring about the humanoid faster than any statistical program could say was accurate. The chances that you would have evolved naturally in the process that Darwin has given you and you've accepted are astronomically out of whack. Couldn't happen. You must look at this to even begin to think I'm right. Cellular structure has benevolent intelligence. The best we can give you. There's a field that exists around life. All life. It was enhanced and designed especially by those who helped put this planet in place. And dear ones, part of that was you. This planet evolved faster than anything possible. Much faster. Again, I turn to that which you know to tell you what you don't know so that you will help understand and believe what you're going to learn. The statistics will prove I'm right. It won't prove that this is the answer. It'll simply tell you that there was something that interfered with natural selection, which is actually an oxymoron. There's nothing natural about it, dear one. You were pushed into existence. Cellular structure has benevolent intelligence. There were no accidental mutants. Cellular structure built the next best thing as fast as it could, because it knew what was coming. This planet's life evolved with interference, through intelligence, through nature that was benevolent and interfered. That's the best I can give you. To tell you that the evolving human being was designed. There is no accident. You're here. And if you want to look at the statistics, that's just one more point to connect the dots that maybe there's a purpose for this planet. Maybe there's a purpose for the human being who is here not by accident, but designed on purpose with a consciousness of God. This is a different planet. And when you can see how life should have developed, and you are able to look at other planets someday that have any kind of microbial life, any kind of animal life, you will see a vast difference in the timeline. Vast. Couldn't have happened. Your scientists will scratch their heads and they will agree. We don't know what it is. We don't know how. But there was interference. Big time. You developed in a fraction of the time it should have taken natural selection. And what does it mean to you? Because that's the message of the day. I want you to sit on this, knowing that there is now evidence so I can give it to you. Do you understand the way this works, dear ones, the way channeling happens? We cannot simply blast out truth that you haven't thought about yourself. You must discover it and ask the questions before we can answer them. Free choice is honored, blessed, beautiful, and you're starting to ask the questions. And we gave you the source to look at. What does it mean to you? As we close, what does this mean to you? What if the design of humanity was from God? Benevolent, beautiful, outside of the possibility of chance. Would you think differently about everything we've been saying? Maybe you're here on purpose. And if so, dear ones, what else might be on purpose? What's going on right now that you're having to deal with? If the benevolent force of the Creator can create life for you on this planet in a fraction of the time, don't you think maybe it can help you solve some problems? This is a different energy, different information. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Evolution is at hand, and now it gets good. For as human nature starts to mature and get out of the playground, as you start to see one another country to country, sacred group to sacred group, and stop throwing rocks at each other and calling each other names as you've done for so long, as you mature and see the commonality that you have, you can hold hands and sing the praise of the benevolent God, one God, in so many forms, in so many truths, who has one thing in common with all: love, compassion. And that is the truth. It's going to change the world. Not quickly, but it will. You stand at the cusp of the change, the beginning of processes that we haven't ever discussed. Listen, scientists, if you are listening and you're rolling your eyes, go do the math and come back. You give your explanation. Someday in the test tube, you'll see it. A field around cells in general that has an intelligence you never thought was there. Without a brain, without a central system, there's still something there. Multidimensional, of course. Quantum, a little. Go find it. Beautiful. You deserve the truth, old soul. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
I invite you to take a deep breath and slowly, as you exhale, allow all the tension in your body to dissolve and melt away. And let us quiet the questioning logic and intellect of the mind. Let us gently talk to it. Say thank you for always being a part of me. And let's quietly move into that safe place that is always here for you. That safe place that reminds you that you are eternal, that you never had a beginning, and therefore you never can have an ending. You simply always exist. And in this beautiful place of infinite existence, let us acknowledge the wonderful messages that we can now receive from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Each time we come to you in this way, we are so aware of all who are listening. For many years, we have presented the channelings. And for many years, those channelings have been recorded and placed in places where you get them. And you get them for free, and anyone can listen to them at any time. This was what I asked my partner to do many, many years ago. And all the time that we have done this, I have told you this, that in a multidimensional state, it doesn't matter whether you're watching or listening to that which has been recorded or not. Because we are aware of the listener. Awareness of the listener. If you are listening or watching this in a time that it was not broadcast, a year later, we see you there. We know you there. You're part of the family. We're always with you. You're never alone. The fact that you have given intent to listen to this in your now, it's our now as well. Your eyes are here, your ears are here, your consciousness is here. We have a compassion for this. This is the compassion of the creative source. We know you. So this is live, no matter when you listen to it, no matter when you see it. And that is what we always wanted to say to you, so you understand. It's the awareness we have of you as the listener that makes it so profound. This is the last of 4 channelings on that which is compassion. Now, we may do some other compassionate kinds of explanations in the future, but these 4 are the ones we wish to give you at this time for you, for what's going on the planet right now. This is the fourth time I will give you that which is the definition of compassion as we see it, not the one you find in the dictionary. And even this description is filled with metaphors. Listen. Compassion is the connection with God, with Spirit, with the creative source. A connection that allows you to meld with the energy of open-heartedness, with mature benevolence, with understanding of everything that is. Again, with perhaps even more explanation. A connection with that which is the creative source. That in itself, critical, is first. Connect to Spirit. And next, understand that that will allow you to have a complete and meld with things you don't normally meld with. Energy, open-heartedness. Perhaps some of you feel you're not necessarily that way. You would be if you connected. Open-heartedness, mature benevolence, not simply benevolence. Mature benevolence is that which comes from old souls, which have seen it all and are arriving now at this time and understand what the difference is between simple benevolence and been there, done that benevolence. Mature benevolence. And finally, understanding of what you're seeing. That's a big one. There are so many who don't understand what they see because they only see it in 4D. And those who are multidimensional have a second sight and a third sight, an understanding sight, and a peace that happens because of it. That's compassion. And the fourth compassion is this, something we've been teaching for years, and it's called compassionate action. Here is the premise. When you have compassion for any of the other three, number one, for others, number two, for the plan, number three, for yourself, what is the action that comes from that compassion? What do? Compassionate action is something that doesn't always happen. It's not automatic. There are many who simply have compassion. They feel certain things. They develop certain compassions, certain kinds of, I would say, perceptions around it, and that's it. And it stops there. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's the rest of the story. If you have compassion for things, people, situations, for yourself, for the plan, what's next? What follows that we call compassionate action. What if there were really two parts to all compassions? And there is this, the understanding, the realization, you see it, and then you do something. Now that something that you do can be almost anything that is also compassionate. Let's give an example. You're compassionate to a person, and we rewind to the first lesson, the first facet, compassion to others. And we told you, it's not feeling sorry for them, and it's not pity. You have that mind that is melding with spirit, and you have compassion for all that is them and what they're going through. Let's say they have lost someone. Let's say you see them and they're in their sorrow and crying, and you feel it right here, and you start to have immense compassion for their situation, for their soul, for them. What's next? How powerful are you? Do you think that you have a connection to spirit? Do you think you're listened to? I'll tell you, there are millions of us who are listening to you all of the time. When you pray to God, what have you been told that is? In the very linear 4D way. You have no idea Every single time you open your heart to speak to Spirit, we're there. So you see this person, and what do? What if you were put your hand on your heart, dear Spirit, give this person peace and strength. I see them being hugged by God. I see them understanding more about what has happened and not having it affect them for the rest of their life. I see this mother who has lost their child. And I see that mother, perhaps, dear Spirit, you will allow and send the energy of love so she is comforted. Nothing can eliminate that which has happened, but her reaction to it for the rest of her life can be mature benevolence, where she sees it and it doesn't control her or make her cry every time she thinks about it. But instead, dear Spirit, let her feel loved and understand. And so your reaction then and your compassionate action is instantly to say a prayer. To say, dear Spirit, give her love, send her love, so she can feel it. And maybe it goes further. Dear Spirit, let this person find light in places that person doesn't expect. You might see that there is an individual who hasn't lost anyone, but is always, always sorrowful. It happens. Always perhaps depressed. It happens. A person that can't really see light anywhere, and you have compassion for them because every time you're with them, you think, I wish so much that they could improve. I wish for them, and I wish you can do more than that. Compassionate action is you going into that which you do so well, a connection with Spirit to help them balance. Dear Spirit, let them find that which I found. Put something in their path that they can't miss, like you did with me. Let them find it in their own time, with their own choices. But put things there so they can find peace where they don't have peace now. So they can understand that they don't have to worry all the time. Some of you have had these things put in your path. My partner has a name for it. It says, made you look. With free choice, you make the decision that says, what if there's more than I was told? What if all of these things, this strange idea of channeling, the strange ideas that Spirit has a magnificent plan, all these, what if this had substance? Substance past what you were ever told by any spiritual leader on the planet. What if it goes further than that? What if you are magnificent? Then you say, oh, and it brings you here. And you start studying the things that will lengthen your life and heal your body. And then you turn and you see someone who hasn't got a clue. And you say, oh, if they only knew. If they only knew. And you'd have compassion. And now you start the prayer. Or the visualization, if you visualize, even the feeling. Dear Creative Source, I know you love this soul. Put something in their path to make them look. With free choice, if they will or not, and if they don't look the first time, do it again and again. So maybe they can see light and find the comfort that they could have, like you did with me. Like you did with me. Compassionate action. What if there is an action every time you feel compassion? When you feel compassion for the plan, which we told you about before, part of the 4, what would be the compassionate action? How about this? You drop into your heart. You say, Dear Spirit, thank you for all you put us through to bring us to this point where we're starting to climb that ladder by ourselves of enlightenment, starting to clean up our planet, our societies, our culture very, very slowly, so that there will be no more war. so that we'll start to understand each other and how to work with each other better. Thank you for that. Could it be that compassionate action is thanks? Yes. Every single one of you can figure out what would be the action you would take that would be most compassionate after you have the compassion. Yes, this is advanced, and that's why we presented it to you last. I hope you've understood these 4 areas, and if you have not, you can always listen to them again. These channelings on the Healing Wednesdays, the channelings will also be available for all to hear, not sequestered only to the membership. But you're hearing them first, and you're hearing them now and in your real time. As I said, we know who's here. I'm Kryon, in love with humanity.
So this is a time for us to really tune into ourselves. And earlier I mentioned that we have one of our hosts joining us from the other side of the veil. And to me, I would like to begin this first meeting together to invite the multitudes of soul family that are connected to each of us to descend upon us now and be with us for the entire weekend. And we want to create that energetic posture of receiving every soul that has been connected with us and our lives to come and let us feel them in a close way and be part of this weekend. So with that, I invite you to close your eyes and take a moment to quiet the beautiful mind you have, that wonderful supercomputer of yours that takes in information and puts them in order in a beautiful, logical way, because that's the role of our mind. Our mind is beautiful. It wants information. It loves being busy. It loves solving puzzles. And so we want to just acknowledge that mind and how wonderful it is. But now we're just going to ask that mind to be a little more quiet. It can just take a seat in the background as we allow ourselves to connect more with our intuition. Because our intuition comes to us more in silence during quiet time. It often whispers to us. And through that quiet time, those whispering moments, we may even feel the whispers of those that we have loved that are no longer here physically with us. Those whispers are that we never left your side. We are always with you. And so we invite those who are always with us to come a little closer and to give us signs that we can recognize, unique to our own specific circumstance of what we need to see, hear, or feel, or connect with in order to receive that communication. And as we do this, we send out into the field that we are all connected, so that those who are not aware of this process may experience a synchronistic event to let them know that that loved one is still with them, still connecting in the spiritual realm. It is one of the beautiful love stories that we have, that we are eternal and we are never alone. And so with that eternalness, that connection, let us now invite the magnetic master, Kryon, who has always told us that you are never alone. Let's invite Kryon to come and give us a message.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner has just presented to you the possibility that hiding all around you are formulas that you never grasped, that you never really learned, that you never really saw. This is the shift. Something that has been predicted by the ancients. An energy that has to do with astronomy, astrology. The energy of civilization. Right on time it is. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the timing. Not the timing of the shift, but the timing of your soul. But it's a time where things that were hidden start to be revealed. Sometimes we label the year you're in, and this one was called the year of revelation. But wait a moment, so was the last one. And so it's the linear mind of the human that says, well, every year there should be another energy. Not so. This shift is about revelation. Not just the revelation of the things that have been hiding, sometimes the revelation of what has not been hiding, but is then there in a stronger way. Duality, human nature, will change. And this has always been controversial because all of that you have learned says human nature is a nature which is static. And that human nature is responsible, therefore, for this and this and this and this and this. And those who study this, whether they're psychiatrists or psychologists or just scientists, looking at consciousness, have taken that particular phrase, human nature, and made it a law, almost like Newton. This is the way it works. Therefore, we will revolve all of that which we know around it and all of the helps of humanity around it, and all of the things that are wrong around it. And that then becomes a focal point which never changes. What if it does? 4 years, we have given you scenarios of the future. A future that many say, well, we know Kryon is the Pollyanna channel. Kryon is the one who is always saying things will get better. Dear ones, you've just gone through 50 years of no world war. That is a marker. You've gone through so many things that you thought you would never see. These are markers, but they happen slow. So there's no celebration of light that is coming to the planet. Suddenly, you have a difference, and you know what I'm talking about, and I will discuss that tomorrow. But in these things, how many of you are starting to recognize a shift and a change in the way this planet thinks and what it wants? And now that the planet can all talk to each other instantly, it makes a difference. There are some who will look at technology and say it's the worst thing that ever happened. And then there are others who are a little wiser who will say, suddenly we can see one another. It was only 70 years ago, or perhaps a little more, in the midst of a world war. Part of that war was you couldn't see each other. You were just told about the other one. You didn't know who they were. You didn't see their families or their faces. You just knew about their leadership and what they'd done. And now it's all changed. It goes beyond politics. It goes beyond anything that existed 70 years ago. Well, now you can face off with those who look just like you, speak another language, but it doesn't matter because it's instantly interpretable. And you can see their children, and you can see what they want and what they don't want. And suddenly, there is a consensus of reality of light. You're starting to see that. I'll give you more information tomorrow. But the big question is, what might be hiding for you right now, as you sit there, as you listen there? Could there be something that has been potential for you all along? But through your culture, your society, what you've been told, what you've learned, it either has been suppressed or you've told it's simply not there. It's a time to rethink everything you've been told. I invite everyone to analyze the messages of Kryon, to see if it is something that is a trickster, perhaps, or a cult, perhaps. To analyze the messages and see if they ask you to do anything but love each other. If they ask you to do anything but awaken to a higher compassionate self. Everything that I have ever given you has been an invitation for self-discovery. And when you find what's really hidden, you say, oh my, no one ever told me. That essence of you, not the body, not the mind, that essence of you, which is the soul, has no beginning and no end. That which is the real you is a piece of the Creator, a part of God. There are so many belief systems on this planet that tell you that, and in the next breath, they violate it by a punishing, horrible, dysfunctional God instead of a full, loving, compassionate, unconditional God. You know these things because you are part of it, but the soul has always been hidden. That's the biggest thing that hides. I told my partner some time ago to start a series of programs, of teaching, of channeling, of meditation that reveals something that has been hidden. Your ability to touch the face of God. Your ability, no matter what you've been told by any spiritual leader, to be in touch with your own essence, your own soul. It's what we're going to do today, to cross a bridge into that place. That is the revelation, the biggest revelation. Each individual has far more than you were ever told you have. And in that, you start to realize that that power of consciousness you have, which has often been defined as perhaps a thinking which was positive thinking and a pat on the head and says, I hope you have a nice life, thinking those things. What if thinking those things is an energy that goes into the ethers, into the field, and actually changes something on the other side of the planet? And now there is proof that it does. What if that energy was something you could tap into that was universal, it was huge, that it had a bigger potential than the consciousness of any human being? What if it was literally the consciousness of the Creator in you, starting to send light and compassion, kindness around the world to those who need it right now, needed to be soothed right now, need to be helped right now? That's powerful. I'll say something to you that I'll say tomorrow as well. You're comfortable right now. Oh yes, there are those here, and I know who they are, who have things perhaps that are pending, that they're concerned about, or grieving about, or worried about. But in general, you're not hungry. You're in comfort. The temperature is good. And you've come to a place where you can listen and perhaps enjoy each other in a spiritual way. There are millions right now on this planet who don't have that, who are just like you, who have those who are partners they love, who have children they love, and they're in trouble. What if all of them could feel a little bit of what is in this room right now? What if what's hiding is that which is the energy here, which is mature and knows more than most? That you can send this to those in need, and what they will receive is peace over the condition that they're in. Perhaps for a few moments they can stop wringing their hands and worrying and crying and grieving. And for a few moments they can raise their hand and they say, I don't know where this came from, but thank you. That for a moment or two, I can feel like I'm in front of a beautiful stream with the sun shining and all is well. That's what's hiding. For them, for you. But you are the mature ones, the old souls, the light workers, who can take what you have and share it in a way that this planet right now needs more than any other time, perhaps than you've even been alive. That's why you're here. People have said, what is next? I have given you what is next. And the reason that you keep asking what is next is because you don't believe it. You don't believe the sun's going to come out or there's light at the end of the tunnel. Even though these last years have shown you things you never thought you would see. Not technical, but consciousness. And the solutions of certain kinds of issues and problems and inappropriatenesses. It's all there for you to look at. The shift is here. That's who you are. That's why you came. I'll tell you a little more about that tomorrow. But dear ones, the revelation of these times is not the revelation of darkness or the revelation of any of the other things that are here to be revealed or inventions. It's the revelation of your own soul's majesty, of a magnificence you have when you were born. You were not born dirty. You were born magnificent. That's the revelation. Take that and develop it. What does it mean? What can you do? The speaker this day will show and tell a little more about that. Things that are hidden, that can be revealed. Things perhaps that you need to hear from those who are teaching it and have been revealing it for a very long time. That's what's going on this planet that I wanted to tell you about in this moment. And tomorrow there'll be more. I'm crying in love with humanity, and for good reason. And so it is.